Okay, so operant conditioning is our second learning theory, and in comparison to classical conditioning, which emphasizes the pairing up of two things, or learning by association, operant conditioning emphasizes the role of consequences and repetition in learning. So reinforcement is one of the big concepts here. Any stimulus that makes a repetition of a response more likely would be considered a reinforcer. So you have both positive and negative reinforcers. If every time you answered a question, I gave you a piece of your favorite candy, you might be more likely to raise your hand when I ask questions. That would be a positive reinforcer. The candy would be the positive reinforcer, and raising your hand would be the response that is made more likely by it. Negative reinforcers increase the rate of response when they're removed. And we could use the same example. Suppose we were in class and I had all your chairs wired up to give you an electrical shock, and they were constantly giving you an electrical shock. And the only way you could stop that electricity from happening would be to raise your hand and answer a question. That would make it pretty likely that people would raise their hands. So negative reinforcers increase the rate of response when they're removed. In this case, the shock is removed when the desired response is given. And I bet by now you're feeling pretty lucky that you don't have me in an actual classroom. Don't worry, I wouldn't actually do that to you. The next concept is punishment, which is a negative stimulus that follows an undesirable behavior. So this stops a behavior from happening. So, for example, say a child hits his sister, and he's made to go to bed without any dinner. That would be a punishment. Shaping is the use of these different ideas to gradually increase a behavior by reinforcing successive approximations. So shaping is the idea of giving reinforcement bit by bit until you see the kind of response you want. So, if I want you to learn something like multiplication, I might start by giving you reinforcement for being able to add. And then after a while, I don't reinforce you for just that. You need to show me that you can multiply two simple numbers, and then I'll give you a reinforcement. And then I take that, I don't reinforce that, I wait until you get to the next step of the learning process. So you get this increase in operant behavior, more complex strings of behavior, by starting with the smallest piece of it and giving reinforcements along the way.